Darlene, as I just said before waiting for the recording to start, and I'd like to introduce my coworker, Melissa Campbell. Melissa is one of our community activators, and she brings her knowledge and passion to supporting leagues to engage their communities in many creative ways. And I do mean that, that's not just talk, with a focus on ABCD, which is asset-based community development. And Melissa will be sort of tech support, and she'll also be here talking about parts that she knows lots more about than me. So just to cue it up, today we're going to the format for an AMA, and Ask Me Anything, which today is an Ask Us Anything, is that we will give you some information, give you enough information to get the ball rolling, and then we'll open it up for the asking part, which is any questions you have, clarifications, any and everything, and sharing your wonderful ideas too is always, always welcome. We're recording, I've said that. Will be plenty of time for questions, and then we'll follow up with an email with the resources that we're sharing and also with the recording. That will take us probably to the end of this week. I won't speak for our communications department, but we'll get that to you within the next week, that I can promise. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand physically or virtually or put it in the chat and we will get to it. It won't be a lot of me talking or Melissa talking. It's going to be the group, but we do definitely want to cue it up first on what are we doing here. So if everyone's good to go, I can't see the chat. So if there's anything in there that I need to address now, Melissa, holler, but otherwise I'll go full steam ahead, folks. Okay, so what are we doing here today? We have created EFCL using our Powers for Good. We've created a friendly competition for leagues, and it doesn't have to be friendly. I personally am very competitive, love them. So for leagues to increase their membership sales in the month of September in conjunction with Community League Day. So it's comparing each league's September 2024 sales. And sales, I'm using that term loosely. So your memberships may be free. They may have a price to them. Either way, I'm going to just use the general sales term. So just increasing memberships is what it's about, that piece of it. And so comparing each league's September 24 to their September 25, and the largest percent increase is the winner. So and so really, why are we doing this? One of the things that the Membership Engagement Working Group set as a goal, and I'll read it to you so that I get it exactly. This objective was to support community leagues to increase memberships with the intention to build connection in the community. So that's a whole goal. So it isn't just about get out there and get those memberships. It's with the intent to increase engagement and connection, of course. And also, as we know, as we're hearing, the City of Edmonton administration wants to see membership numbers that support funding of leagues. So as y'all know, the new CLOG reporting, and relatively new in the last year, it includes membership numbers. It includes many other things, but I think that we can't not pay attention to those numbers because that's a nice concrete number and it's one of the first things counselors will ask. So what are the membership numbers? So in the interest of keeping the money rolling in, I think that's pretty important too. It's by the end of September that your league will need to get all of your numbers into communal. So I shouldn't say by the end of September. You have the first couple weeks in October. You could be adding them to communal if you're not doing the majority of your sales or getting memberships out there through communal. You could be adding them through the month. You could enlist a youth in your community to input them, do it as you go, split it up for board members. There's so many ways to do that. And most of you know that already. I'm telling you something you already know, but you would have to have it by, I believe it's October 14th. And then we'll pull the numbers and then we'll compare them to 2024. And last but not least, you can win $1,000. And the league, there's nothing attached to what the league can do with that $1,000. It's $1,000 very generously given to us by our Lloyd Sad new insurance broker, almost insurance broker. They are insurance broker, but we haven't switched over in October yet. But yeah, so $1,000 in the league's pocket to do with whatever the league wants. It's not like a grand tour. And then the runner-ups will get 6 months of Communal's paid modules for free. And that's no small thing either. So that's very generous of Lloyd Sad and of Communal. So that's kind of the gist of what we're doing here. Does anyone have any questions or clarification they need about that before I move on? Oh, Betty Jo, go right ahead.
Just wondering about all the so I like I'm brand new
I do.
in this position. But like through the month of August, July and August, we've been getting a lot of online memberships, members signing up. Does that factor into because you're comparing September 24 to September 25? So do those numbers factor in at all?
No, no, they don't for this,
Yeah,
pardon me,
just for this little
specific.
contest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So no, keep up the great work. Don't stop. Don't,
right.
I mean, if you can push them over into September, hats off to you. I'm not sure how you would do that, but
When you get them.
yeah, get them in the door, folks. Get them in the door.
Okay.
So
Okay, that's good.
yeah. Okay. And then Melissa, I think there's some things in the chat. I see that, Rebecca. And is it okay if I come to that in a little bit, Rebecca? Hopefully, because it will get answered. Um, because the communal piece, right?
Could you clarify just about the calculation? There's just a little bit of chat about
Oh,
how it's being calculated for the challenge. I think it would be good to answer that one now, and then I can pin the other ones for us to answer in a little bit.
sure, sure, sure. Okay, so then I'm just reading this, so bear with me, Rebecca. So most of our memberships aren't in communal currently. I understand that they'll be added in there for this competition. I like doing data entry, so that's not an issue, and it's already in a nice spreadsheet. Way to go, Rebecca. But how will it work for last year's numbers? Those memberships also aren't in there. Okay. Oh, that is a good question. And I don't have an immediate answer other than you could share your spreadsheet with us, with me, and Melissa, if you're willing to put my email in the chat. And then we'd have to come back to that, Rebecca, because yeah, yeah. So all that to say, I don't have an immediate answer, but we can certainly come back to that. And I would think on the fly that sharing your spreadsheet from September, so then you'd have to cull down your spreadsheet to just September 2024, which is easy to do that. You can just filter it. How about that? Okay, I'm gonna
Cindy,
go. Yes.
Cindy,
Okay.
sorry.
Hi.
We were trying to upload our spreadsheets to Communal, and they're not quite in the format that Communal uses. But we have several years of data that they said they will upload, and so that'll cover previous years. But it needs to be in a specific format. That's not ours is kind of bigger than what they want. So if you reach out to Communal, they will send you their template in the way they want the spreadsheet done, and then it's just a matter of uploading it.
Thank you, Cindy. Of course. There you go. That on the fly. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. So yeah, Rebecca, that would be to keep it absolutely fair across the board. And that was the one thing I was thinking in my mind. But yeah, so if you reach out to help at yep, yep, for sure, for sure. And so you would reach out to help at getcommunal.com. Just put it in the chat and they will give you the template that you need. Thanks, Cindy. Very good. Okay, so I want to move on a little bit to talk a little bit about some ways to increase membership. And There's lots of ways. And you folks today will probably share some really great, amazing ideas. I know that Melissa's got some fantastic experience and some great successes to share from leagues that she knows of. So just I want to briefly talk about that there's many, many ways to increase membership, as we all know. And one of the ways that we focused on, I would like to focus on a little bit for today, is the door-to-door resource that we've created specific to this membership drive. So I want to state very clearly that there's a huge door-to-door resource that Melissa created, and that's to do with block connectors. And she'll talk a little bit about that after I've talked about ours. But Melissa, are you able to open up the door-to-door resource and share your screen? Sorry, I didn't ask you to do that ahead. Unfair. But I'm just thinking that might be the easiest to just, we'll go through it quick, folks, and then take it away to Melissa. Thank you. Can everyone see the door-to-door resource? Do we need it bigger? I don't think we can make it bigger. Yeah. Oh, Melissa, you're brilliant. You're hired. That's it. I love it. Thank you. Okay. So this resource, I just want to kind of skim over it a little bit for now because it's going to be in your follow-up email. It's going to be on our website. It's almost on our website right now. And so just that this is a getting started, and this is specific to the drive, the membership drive. So it's not the be all and the end all for door to door. I want to preface it with that. So just some door to door can look different and it can be far less intimidating than it sounds. And so it's, for lots of people, the idea of going knocking on door to door on doors is like, no, I'm not going to do that. But some of the tips in here I think are really, really solid and helpful. So partnering together folks that are more seasoned, if you have a block connector in your neighborhood, put them with some of the less seasoned. If you don't, there might be people that are more outgoing, and here's where you want your extroverts to shine. Most people are really happy to talk to their neighbors. And so for people to take their block, like that's something that I've done in my neighborhood is I'll just take my block because I want to get to know the people on my block anyways, and then go around. And and I like this, lead with an offer or an invitation. So if there is a price for your memberships, if you are selling them, that's fine. Maybe there's a discount to it, or you're just saying, if they're not comfortable with paying, which we could talk about that as well, invite them to your community league day event if you are having one, and invite them to something with the league. And that's an invitation that's warm, and then it's less of a salesy thing. Can you scroll down, please, Melissa? Think of the big picture. This is where it gets into kind of the nuts and bolts of it, like where the city of Edmonton has neighborhood maps. And I'm a super visual person, so I love a map, and I love, okay, I'll highlight what's my area, what's my street. And then that houses front each other. There's some details in there. You can have the map blown up at Staples. All the sort of details are in there, but really announce the initiative to the community using your league channels, communication channels. I got my league's newsletter yesterday, and right there in the newsletter was, hey, help us win $1,000. And I just loved it. I thought, yeah, that's right. Start getting the community in, and we want bragging rights, help us win. And I think that's just really inviting as well. When you're recruiting volunteers, always, if you can just do a half hour, any time is really helpful. And yeah, give them a membership kit, give them some training. There's a list there of what you might put in your membership kit, but asking folks to come and volunteer and then say, oh, just go out. That's probably not going to be your most successful option. Giving them a little bit of training, maybe give them some cake or cookies as well, and a cup of coffee, and say, go talk to folks and send them on their way ready to go. And in there, I'd said, don't let the perfect get in the way of the good. So any any amount of getting out there and making the league more visible and increasing your membership. So I'm trying to not use the word sales, increasing your memberships is fantastic. It's really a win, and it's not, yeah, making it heavy for the volunteers, either the ones organizing it or the ones going out and doing it. And then finishing well for the win, consolidating your data. That's where we talked about getting it into communal. If you have at least 20 memberships on a list, and then you can send it to communal and they'll upload it to your instance. And I think that's all on there, that just for a skim, that you'll get a chance to look at this and it'll come to you. So don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it because I want to get over to Melissa. I just want to make sure, oh, I recently created a map with corresponding. Ooh, yeah, very groovy, Carrie. Yeah, for sure. If you share that, that would be wonderful. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's kind of all that I want to do. I want you all to have a lot of time to talk and ask questions and give us your ideas. And then I'd like to queue up Melissa. For those of you that just joined, Melissa Campbell is one of our community activators, very knowledgeable and very passionate. And she's going to talk a little bit more about some ideas.
Sure, yes. And yes, we will get to all of the questions if there was something put in the chat earlier. So do not worry, we'll make sure we get to them all. So as Darlene mentioned, I am a community activator. And prior to that, I was a membership director for my community league. So I know where you're all coming from. In my community, we do door-to-door canvassing and have for many, many years. And it does take a bit of work to set it up, but it is so worthwhile because it really gives you the opportunity to potentially reach every single person in the neighborhood. Community leagues have really great channels, communication channels, but a lot of them, most of them, are actually dependent on the person being a member first. So we have their email address, we can email them information, they may get an online newsletter, that kind of thing, but sometimes it can be tricky to get in the door with people who don't know who we are. So that's why door-to-door is really great. It also, it just gives that human to human connection because again, most of our communication channels are actually not in person. And communal is an amazing tool. It's a really great way of reaching lots of people, but it is missing that human to human piece. So that's why door-to-door can be really great. And this resource is very useful. I think it can be a bit daunting for folks to think about actually going and knocking on their neighbors' doors. I know it was for me, and I'm a pretty extroverted person, and I still felt very, very nervous the first few times I went and knocked on my neighbors' doors. But I now know every single person on my street because I do this every year. And, now I have people that I connect with because they expect me now, and I come back every September and they know I'm going to come, and then we have a good chat. So it's great for, the purpose of increasing membership numbers for community leagues, but it's also just a really great way to connect and and have that human connection with the neighbors. Darlene mentioned block connectors a little bit, and this is it's very similar to membership canvassing in that you're going door to door connecting with your neighbors. Typically, you'll have a block connector for each block in the neighborhood. So as Darlene mentioned, that's probably only maybe 20 doors at the most. So it's not actually that daunting. Whereas you may be thinking the idea of knocking on every door in your entire neighborhood sounds like too much, but when you break it down, it's not so bad. And really the intention of block connectors is to meet your neighbors and get to know what their interests are. Because then once you have that information, you can design the programming in your neighborhood based on what people's interests are, and also tap into the skills and interests that they have. So perhaps somebody loves gardening, they could be part of a gardening group or give a gardening session or something like that for the community league. So that's why it's really great to just get to know the folks in your neighborhood. I also wanted to just share a cool idea that I heard about. I met with Eastwood Community League, who have really been focusing on increasing engagement in the community and their membership numbers over the summer. And they had a couple of summer students that were helping with this. And something they did was a bunch of pop-up events around the neighborhood. So for not a lot of money, they created these sort of pop-up event kits, or I think it was just one, a pop-up event kit. So it has craft supplies, games, things like that in it. And then they just had these little events all over the neighborhood so that they were connecting with people right on their block. So it's kind of like a block party, except it's not done by the person on the block, it's done by the league. And they just had some snacks, some games, some crafts. And I think they were saying the good thing was that brings the kids because they see, snacks and games and crafts. And then they were giving memberships while at these pop-up events. But they said, okay, well, if you want to get your snack, you have to bring your parents over here too. So that was kind of the hook, to get the parents to come and get their membership. Because you have to be careful. You're not just giving a bunch of kids free snacks, but then not connecting, if the intention is to increase membership. So I thought that was a really cool and actually pretty easy way to connect with people within the neighborhood. Because often league events happen either at the hall or at the central sort of meeting space where the community is, which not everybody's bumping up against all the time. So this is a way to really meet people where they're at, right on their block. So those are just sort of a few different ways to think about connecting with people in the neighborhood so that they can learn about the community league and get a membership for the league. And a lot of great things that leagues do already is having a table at their events. That's a great thing to do. And then sharing membership information in your newsletters, and having, the communal platform where people can easily get their membership online is great. But as many of these different ideas that as you can do sort of in concert with each other, the better, because then you're reaching people in lots of different ways. So I think that's all I wanted to share. Before I open it up to more questions, I do just want to loop back because there was one question of Ron's that I think is probably for me to respond around ABCD, or asset-based community development, and how that fits in with the cities and the EFCL's priority list. I can't speak for the city. I do know, though, that this is something that they're thinking about in terms of actually engaging with the community, because membership is a measure of community engagement, but it's not the only one. Because you could have everybody in your neighborhood gets a membership because they need to for soccer or for something like that, but that doesn't mean they're actually connected and engaged with the league. So I do think it's something the city is looking at more. And from the EFCL's perspective, we are thinking about it more. We actually have a workshop. You are the first to hear about it, actually, folks in this room. We're doing a workshop on October 31st, Halloween, about ABCD. So we have Heather Keem from Tamarack Institute is going to come and talk about ABCD. And then we'll also have another meeting the next day on November 1st to talk specifically about community leagues and how we do this in the community league context. So it is increasingly a priority for us. And I hope that answers your question. There was also a question, Darlene, about the how it's being calculated, how for the challenge, the membership challenge. So is it a percentage of memberships compared to the community's population, or what? So if if you could just explain the calculation, that'd be helpful.
For sure, for sure. So is that Ron's question? Okay, sure.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Let me explain why I asked the question. There are lots of communities, 163 communities in the city.
Yep.
And many of them are large communities, Twin Brooks and Terwilliger and so on. Well, the ratio of growth is important. And in our community, we're a small community. We don't have, I think there's 700 people, 750 people. So if we, in fact, were to increase our numbers, percentage wise, that would be significant if we could come to you and say, hey, we're now at 75% members.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Ron. Yeah, so it's comparing yourself to yourself. So it's Prince Charles, September numbers 24 and September
I'm
numbers
just saying
25.
comparing growth from one year to the next isn't necessarily going to give you the true information. To me, it's the ratio of members to the population of the community. Because if it's important to the city and to EFCL that communities be involved and engaged and active and important, then it seems to me we should be looking at how, okay, what percentage of the community is in fact a member of the community?
Sure, and bigger picture, you're spot on. For this drive, for this, so that's where when I said earlier, like even this door-to-door resource has been shrunk down for the drive because leagues aren't going to get out there and implement massive systems in 1 month. I mean, maybe they are, and hats off to you if you do. But what we're looking at, Ron, is strictly for this drive for 1 month. So what you're talking about, bigger picture, of course, all of that matters. And that's not something EFCL is measuring big picture. Is that number matters to the city and it will matter. And so we can't pretend that it doesn't. And like Melissa says, it's one measure that the city's looking at, but it's a pretty easy number to pull out. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and then I wanted to say, Rebecca, so you would upload your old data, and then will it send emails to all those people though when they get uploaded? So short answer is no. Then you're setting it up in your communal instance as active or inactive, and that you would work with communal on. And then there is an auto renew function. And then again, you would want to clarify that with communal, but you're going to be doing this with communal and they'll clarify that. So no, it won't just start emailing people. It can. You can put them in that category if that's kind of a really short answer, but I would rather communal answer that for you, Rebecca. Just looking at the other questions. Carrie Berg has offered to share their map and we'll see. Well, Carrie, are you okay with us sending that out with the follow-up email? That's not just for Melissa. Okay, we'll clarify that at some point. The acronym
Yeah,
asset
that was just kind of an
based. Oh,
example when we were talking about like the kind of organizing each block so that everybody has a bit of a portion. We made this for our block connectors, but it also doesn't have to be for block connectors if people
right?
just want to know how many
Nice.
houses they have or whatever that looks like. And yeah, you're welcome to share that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'll speak to that a little bit because I have a few of Carrie's fantastic resources from High Park when she set up her block connectors. So we can share those out afterwards because she did some really amazing work creating some very replicable resources. And also, I will say some other community leagues have just taken a map and like drawn it with a pen. Like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have a lot of computer skills. Get a map and just, I remember one person said she just did it while she was like watching TV one night. Because it makes it creates these bite-sized pieces rather than being this massive daunting map.
Right. And I also want to reiterate that what we're doing here for the drive is like a mini start almost. I'm not sure the quite the right way to say it, but this is just the beginning because then going forward, leagues can grow on this idea, maybe engage Melissa and look at the block connector program. Maybe, there's all kinds of possibilities. So just for this purpose of this 1 month, this one drive, this $1,000, we're starting where we think leagues can start rather than having to do this much, you're doing this much for now. But yeah, always with an eye to growth over the next year. Yeah, absolutely. We want to help leagues grow membership numbers for sure. Cindy, so it is just for September. Yeah, it is. And again, back to Ron's comment, concern, it's absolutely these matter big picture. We're not talking big picture today, but we're definitely queuing up big picture thinking. So, um, Lynn, are you willing for me to talk a little bit about what Riverdale's doing and kind of a spin on the Eastwood idea? Would that be okay?
Sure, go ahead, darling. I was sorry, I was in the car before, so I couldn't
Yeah, no,
introduce myself.
no worries, no worries. So I'll introduce Lynn. Lynn is the Riverdale membership person, and I live in Riverdale, the best community in Edmonton. Oh, see if I get a reaction. But so our newsletter came out yesterday, and how I had mentioned Lynn, I don't know if you were on here
Yes.
yet, but that what in it it said, that let help us win this $1,000, and I thought that was fantastic. The other thing that Riverdale's doing, and with the painting of the curbs, Lynn, I thought with the Eastwood idea, a way of coupling that is so throughout the Riverdale community, there's going to be people painting the big concrete curbs on that day.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it'll take community league celebrations that Riverdale does a great job at the hall, but it'll take it out into the
Yeah.
community. So
Well,
there's
we're
some,
just to clarify that a little bit, because we didn't go into great detail in the newsletter. Um, the Mural Festival Group of Edmonton, they operate year round, not just during the Mural Festival itself. So they approached us, and we are actually contributing to support artists who do murals throughout Edmonton. So they're asked us if they could bite off some small things. They've already done utility boxes and concrete barriers, and we happen to have quite a few of them where they're trying to protect the riverbank and so on. So it will not be our community members who will be doing the painting. It will be artists that will have the ability to paint what they think will fit in the community. But we're going to do a mural walk so that the events during Community League Day at the hall can be tied into watching the artists. So, and we have other murals in Riverdale too that we thought we could add to the mural walk, and then end up with the treats and we do apple pressing. There's going to be music, and of course, selling memberships.
right. Right. Yeah. And I think it's brilliant. Yeah. So thanks for clarifying that, Lynn, that this isn't just rando community members going out and starting to paint murals. Um, my thought was, so at each of those stations where they're doing it, because what I read in the
Mhm.
newsletters, there's 3 or 4 spots. There could be even the Eastwood idea of a table with some memberships and some snacks, or just, and this, I'm not saying do this, Lynn. I'm saying this is a way that things can get threaded together in the community, just to bring the Eastwood idea home.
We tend to get overwhelmed when we offer snacks and activities. So we're trying to, and we only have so many volunteers. So I think we'll probably centralize that at one place, but we'll have people at the Mural Festival. People are going to have their own people there, and they'll have a tent at the main hall as well.
Nice, fantastic. So Cindy asked, Lynn, do we need permits for this? I would think that would
Yeah,
be the mural
yeah,
folks
we need.
handling.
They do that. Yeah, they liaise with the city in terms of doing what they do with these things. They tend to belong to the city, so they are looking after all of that. There's a whole squad of volunteers that work for the Mural Festival.
Oh, so because I want to put a link in, so I'm just Googling Mural Festival
Yeah,
Edmonton. Yeah, there we go. And then other folks could look into it too, because I think it's a super cool idea.
yeah, they're just starting with a few communities, but I know they'd like to do more, and they'd like to do, more bigger ones too, like ugly buildings or utility buildings or whatever. But that takes more money, more paint.
Yeah, yeah, more planning, et cetera. So
I think we're also, I haven't advertised this yet, but they are helping us liaise with Sea Change. I think we're actually going to have a beer tent this year. So we might get a few more people. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hats off to the volunteers in Riverdale. Um, does anyone else have ideas, thoughts, ways? I think we've gone through all the questions. Number one, holler if I missed.
There was one question about a QR code. Are there QR codes available for people to go to their communal membership page?
Yep, and that's on our website as well. I thought someone responded. Okay, so it was Rebecca, yeah, for the QR codes. So Cindy, it's on our website, and we can put that in the follow-up email rather than me waiting for our big website to load and not paying attention to what's going on. That will definitely be in the follow-up email.
Thank you, because I didn't seem to find anything that was,
Sorry? I think you cut out, or maybe I cut out. What did you say, Cindy?
I think Cindy's frozen.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
But you know, to merge that idea and what you were speaking to, Darlene, having the QR code maybe just right beside where the artists are painting. Because I get it, a table with lots of stuff might be too
Yeah.
much, but a QR code, learn more about your league, who
Yeah.
made this thing happen.
Good idea.
nice.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. So, who's done some amazing things? I just kind of put Lynn on the spot for Riverdale with my bias there. Other leagues have done all kinds of things. I know Prince Charles does a pot or has done a pot on every porch. I don't know that that's tied into September and Community League Day.
Oh.
That might actually be a spring. But what are some other have helped increase memberships getting out there, membership numbers?
well, I know that like other leagues, the event we hold has a membership table. It doesn't matter if it's a small event like Big Ben or a larger event like Pot on Every Porch and a very large event like Community League. We never lose a moment to get memberships. And that we're starting the Block Connector program as well to gain more memberships and more awareness. I can't even drive through the community without seeing new infill. So as I'm sure many other leagues have the same thing. So you have the potential to reach out to hundreds of new people every year. And well, maybe not hundreds, but anyway, we just never lose that opportunity to get a membership. And then, of course, anybody who comes onto our Facebook page, we encourage them to get a membership and join working groups. So
Part of the plan too,
there's a lot of chatter.
part of the plan is to create not just a connected community, but a caring community. So if, for example, we have a lot of elderly people in the community, if, for example, someone passes away, we can provide a basket of some kind or food of some kind in the grieving process. Similarly, if it's a new person who's moved into the community, it's our intent to have a welcome basket that we can provide with again, foodstuffs and a newsletter and other things about the community. So what we're trying to do is link all these things together. And the biggest challenge for me and Cindy and others on the board is how do we get people to become block connectors? Because I'd like to see by the end of the year a dozen or so block connectors here, but it's painful. And so when I ask about the priority that the city is giving, even just having someone who can, on one day of that campaign, as it were, take a bunch of people out and show them how to do door knocking, so that the skill is passed along, and not just created as a challenge. I mean, there needs to be some hand holding here, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And that's in the door-to-door resource for this drive. I know you're a big picture thinker, Ron, and I know that your community has done lots and is doing lots. For the purpose of the next few minutes, I just want to keep it not too big in the way that then people will walk away thinking, well, this is too much. But yeah, like you said, pairing the seasoned door-to-door person or the not fearful door-to-door person with the less so is the ideal in this membership drive. So
Yeah, and I will say that, Ron, I will toot your horn a little bit, because although you don't have block connectors for every block, it's a bit of a slow burn, and you have managed to connect with some people who are willing to be block connectors, and it does have a like, it multiplies, because if you find one block connector and that person connects to 10 of their neighbors, you've indirectly connected with 10 neighbors, which is pretty amazing, right? So it's a slow burn, but it's really meaningful and it's really worth it. But it is a hard thing to do from scratch. But I do think there's the sort of approach of like, let's find somebody for every single block in the whole neighborhood. But also, even if you only have 4 people that are knocking on all of their neighbors' doors and connecting with them and giving them memberships and finding out about them, that's actually pretty huge. So, and I think, yeah, Cindy made a point there that Prince Charles is another neighborhood that does not have a building. And their Pot on Every Porch is a great example of a event that happens every year that brings lots of people to the park in the middle of the neighborhood. And this year they did do a really good job of like connecting with people when they came, because it could just be that people come and they get their pot of flowers and then they leave. But instead, it's every time neighbors come together, it's an opportunity to get to know them and have them get to know you and see that you are relevant and important in their community. So yeah.
Yeah, and that, yeah, for sure. And I don't want to go off too far in the block connector, because that absolutely is something for each league to look into going forward. And this is like a mini block connector ideas kind of thing. So Carol, for sure, absolutely, it's a different challenge. And that's what I loved about the Eastwood idea, because I think basically what you're saying is, why should they even buy a membership other than soccer, right?
Well, that's the problem, right? Is I have nothing else to sell. We can't get a community league swim. We we lost our rink to Allard. So, I mean, if we get the pickleball courts built, woo, we'll have something. But I have nothing to sell them. So I use that loosely, like sell.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where you actually would be looking at going towards the asset base, the connection piece, right? The engagement, and that one's it is trickier. There's no way around that. Then that is, how do people belong? How do they feel like they belong? Dog parks. I know that I can't remember which league it was talking about. Gosh, it might have been Horizon. So it might have been, not that far from you. And I don't want to say for sure, but where they set up a dog park, and I don't think they even had a rink. They just, with the city, set up a dog park and
Yep.
found that people started gathering there. So figuring out sort of some gathering places where people feel like they have a sense of belonging.
Right.
Cindy mentioned a table at every event for membership, for sure.
Yep.
And then that is that, sure, we want you to be a member because we want you here, the invitation piece. And
Right.
it is definitely more nuanced when you don't have, here's
don't-
where the league is.
Yeah, and I think again, not just the building, but the fact that, it's 3 neighborhoods. Well, 4 technically, if we include the industrial area that's part of it too. But I've got the, people on the other side of Ellerslie that have a homeowners association. Why would I join the community league? I'm not sure if Callahan does behind me there. And so everybody is from Southbrook. So it's like we don't even have board members from those 2 areas.
Well, and I'm going to leap right away, because that was a conversation I had this morning where it was Oak Hill, of how they built their hall. Build a hall, do not hear that. But they built their hall with TRSA, the soccer association. And how that happened is they had a board member from the soccer association that was willing and interested. And so Cameron Heights, they had a board member from the homeowners association on their board. And so then now they've found a way to work where they're bringing them into the community league. It's almost like that. You need a board member from there to entice them in. So maybe that involves inviting them for a snack and a drink, or I'm not sure. But I think that those homeowner associations can look like a barrier, and then that can be turned by bringing at least some of them in to the league and saying, hey, we want to play together. I'm not sure of the right words to say, but you know what I mean? Yeah, and you're such a large area as well. It's not just no space, but yeah, I think it was Horizon where they said they couldn't believe how engaged people came to that dog park. It was a temporary dog park. It was not a permanent one. So I'll quit talking.
I can help you with that too, Carol. Like that's kind of my role as a community activator, is to talk about all of that stuff, how to get the community engaged. So I can connect with you afterwards to talk a bit more about that. It is really tricky in those big neighborhoods for sure.
Yeah.
And I see Carrie has her hand up.
Yeah.
Nice, sorry. I just want to go back to my question because I think it got missed. It was in the comments. So I just wanted to find out, we had last year's membership information imported into Communal. How do you determine the sales from September only?
It's yeah, you would export it and then you would use a filter, which Communal can help you with that. Melissa and I have done with a league some work on that, but you would filter it through dates. And I think even before you export it, you can filter it, Carrie. But I would reach out to help@getcommunal.com, and then that's a good cue for me to put that on the membership drive page, maybe a link to here's how you do it.
Would they have a date in there? Because we didn't have a date, I don't think, on our spreadsheet that they imported. So I'm not sure where the date would come from. I guess that's my question.
Oh, pardon me. Oh, okay.
So like we don't have a date necessarily associated with that. We would have it on our cards, but that wouldn't be something that was like added by default on our spreadsheet, because I created the spreadsheet specifically for an import.
Right. Okay. Okay, then. Not gonna lie, that's gonna take some homework on my part and talking to Communal. I don't have an answer.
Yeah, because I think it has like user created on whatever date in Communal. And so it would have been whenever they imported my data, right?
Right.
So if that was in December, then I would have nothing in September.
Right, right. So we're back to that. Okay, so for both you and Rebecca. Okay, so let me do some homework then. I know Melissa just put it in our notes, our follow-up notes to, okay, wait a sec, how does this work? Yeah, definitely will look into that. I won't tell you any lies. And then Rebecca put pharmacy in the restaurant here offer discounts to people that show their cards. There's discounts for all leagues here for the community, the rec centers, the Community League Wellness Program. And I think that Rebecca was probably putting that in with regards to what you were talking about, Carol, I believe. Perks for members. Yeah, local businesses. So that's another idea. But again, like Melissa said, as a community activator, she's got a lot that she can offer and help with that. So,
I mean,
Yeah.
for the perks, is there a way to find out which perks are specifically for our league? Because to my knowledge, these have been in place forever, and I don't know if some of them may not still be valid or not.
For perks
Okay.
that your league
Yeah.
offers? Oh, you would have to follow up with those because that would have been something that the league researched and got and made those connections, Cindy. So, one thing I want to say, I'll say it quickly and then go to Lynn's question, sorry, is because I keep forgetting to say it, with the setting tables up at events, I have to tell the story that I love so much. One of the people that I really admire from a league said that at every event that they had a bar where they were serving alcohol, he set the membership table up between where people would get to the bar and where they were coming from. So he very strategically placed that table so that you couldn't get to the bar without going past the membership table. I love that. I think that's hilarious. Would the QR code link to our website or to Communal? It would link to Communal. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can do either, Lynn.
Yeah, I was just wondering which you would recommend. For membership purposes, probably easier to go straight to communal than having to go through an intermediary.
Well, it would save your time and it will, for the folks that are going to scan that QR code and go, it will save their time as
Yeah.
well. And I know there's the $5 admin fee. However, there
Yeah.
are people that will trade that off for
Oh,
saving
yeah,
the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We always are open about that.
Of course, of course. Carol said, I use a QR code I create myself that takes them to the page where they choose their league and then can purchase. Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. And I mean, that's great for streamlining and convenience. Of course, like Melissa said, there isn't that engagement there. There's that disconnect, but then you've got their information to follow up. And then that's a whole nother conversation, right? Once you have that information, following up with it is where the real gold is. And at the risk of saying it again, I mean, there's the drive, the membership drive, this little tiny mini environment we're in, and then there's the go forth and increase memberships, and there's a lot there, a lot of resources help with that. Any other questions or anything we might have missed? Any thoughts on your part, Melissa? Because then maybe we give people back 5 minutes of their lunch.
I think just one final thought is about Community League Day, which we kind of touched on a bit about what Riverdale is doing around that, but just something for you to think about. If you're having a Community League event, Community League Day event, and I hope you are having something, think about how you can design the event to connect with people with the intention of getting more members. And it sounds obvious, but I think sometimes we get really caught up in the details, like, are we going to have a bouncy house and who's going to flip the burgers? But remember that that's actually the point of events, is to connect with the people in your community, to connect them to each other, and to connect them to your community league. So just make sure that you're, and especially as membership directors, which I think most of you are, make sure that that lens is showing up in the conversations about your events, because again, it's the most important piece. One other thing I just remembered, that a league they thought of this idea, but I don't know if they did it, having teenagers like roving around the event with membership cards and filling them out as they go around. I think this was a league that had free membership, so it's easier. I don't know if you want kids taking money from people, but there's maybe a way around it. But even maybe they could be the person who goes and says, hey, what are you interested in? Go over there to the membership table or something like that. But they said, if we got these kids like a McDonald's gift certificate, they'd do anything for a McDonald's gift certificate. So just another idea, send some kids out there to spread the good word about your league during your event.
And thank you, Melissa. So busy board members who don't have time to talk to anyone because they're putting on this big event. Oh, it's not welcoming. It's not inviting. Have experienced it both as a staff and personally. And yeah, so having at least some of your board members that are going around glad handing, chatting, relaxed, because you've got 10 million volunteers taking care of your event. Yes, I realize, but yeah, I think that's an important point. Go ahead, Cindy, and then we got to wrap up, folks.
Melissa's point, I read something recently and I forget which league is doing it. I think it was Westmount, where they get the teenagers and they sign off on their volunteer hours for school credit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good way to get people to help out.
Yeah. Yep. And therein comes the training and the kit, right? Don't just set them loose without any training, which of course you wouldn't. But yeah, those are fantastic ideas. So it's 12:58. Any last minute thoughts? Really appreciate you all coming out and taking your lunch hour. This is really appreciated.
I'd like to say thank you to both of you. Your energy and your knowledge are just wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy.